Back again for another huge night at the BP Ultimate Supercars All-Stars E-Series. It's Chad Nayland and Jonathan Simon live and exclusive on Fox Sports for Armour All qualifying. It was a hit last week, and we're going to dive straight into one of the best tracks in the world, Mount Panorama, tonight. And this is going to be fantastic. Jonathan, you have a ton of sim racing experience, a ton of iRacing experience, and this is one of the hardest tracks to master.
A track brought to iRacing back in 2013. Every nook and cranny at this circuit was laser scanned, millimeter perfect. Even the letterboxes of some of the houses, Chad, were laser scanned and brought to the service. This is the real thing brought to everybody virtually.
And if you are still new to iRacing, you are going to love just how realistic this is. It's a track that we know and love so much in Australia, and we're going to see 29 drivers tackle this circuit, including 4 wildcards, and it's one of those wildcards already. On top, Brody Kostecki, a man who spends a lot of time in his sim at home, has gone straight to the top. There he is, the man they call Bush. And how about the number? 201.6, so we are into the ones.
That is insane. I remember thinking when Jenson Button tested the McLaren Formula 1 car around here, he was in the 1-minute 40s, and to bring this beast of a vehicle, is I think he tapped the wall there. To bring this Holden into the 2-minute 1 range is incredible. But for those who don't know, Brody Kostecki does set up these cars. So we talk about parity here, Chad. Well, a bit of a controversial topic there.
Yeah, well, everyone runs the same setup. It's just that he's the man who gets to set them up. So he knows exactly how good these cars are going to be. And he was an extremely aggressive driver at the opening round of the Super 2 Series, which he is currently leading the points for. And we think back to Adelaide, he was pulling off some almighty moves. How about this one on Jordan Boys, late in the final race on Sunday? How did he get that thing stopped? Very similar look on those cars tonight as well. That is his real-world Erebus Super 2 car a few months ago. It feels like a few years ago now, unfortunately, seeing Brody Kostecki on track doing the real deal. So cool to see Eggleston Motorsport step into the sim racing world with him and bringing some new partners on board as well.
And he's my teammate too as well, officially, in the sim racing world. We race for the Apex Racing team, so I've gotten to know him over the past month since he's joined us, and he's an absolute phenomenal sim racer as he deals with a multitude of traffic here. And here's one driver as well, a wild card into the series. This driver very familiar with open wheelers. He's driven around here once before. Will Power.
Yeah, this is mega. I mean, last week we had Max Verstappen, and that pulled thousands of viewers from all around the world. And to have a guy with Will Power's credentials, I mean, he's actually gone further and won more than Max Verstappen in the real-world scenario. An Indy 500 winner in 2018, and then obviously his 2014 IndyCar Championship as well to go with it. Multiple times a runner-up in IndyCar. But like you mentioned, has actually got Bathurst experience. Did run the great race back in 2002 with Mclaughlin. So it was a Ford back then, not a Mustang. But how cool to see him in a Shell V-Power Mustang with the Verizon signage on the doors just to give it that IndyCar feel. And he's hustling this thing up through McPhillamy.
What a shot. This is like drone footage in the next few years that we might get. But like I said, oh, he's driving this. It's like it's on rails right now. He's been very quick in the timing screens, Will Power. He's yet to set a time this session. And you might be joining us and wondering, why are we in the middle of a session? So, to be honest with you, this is a 20-minute qualifying session. Then we have an Armour All Top 10 shootout later on. And so, right now, these drivers are about to finish. This will determine our top 10 that will go through to the shootout, and this also determines the grid slots from 11 to 30. And if our Penske Racing driver here doesn't set a lap time, he won't be going anywhere near the top of the timing sheet soon, obviously.
So racing from Charlotte in the United States. A man with so much real-world experience, but has proven to be pretty handy on the sim as well. And hopefully going to get a lap that'll put him somewhere near the top 10. It's 13th. So 13th for Will. And interestingly, it looks like he's going to reset straight back to the pits. Now, that is not a typical strategy here. It is allowed, but the problem is it's going to reset your fuel.
Yeah, so the strategy we were expecting was for these drivers to make an actual out lap and an in lap and to come in, because what this will do now for Will Power is it resets his fuel to the 65 litres every driver begins with. For the likes of Thomas Randall and Scott McLaughlin, Brody Kostecki, all these guys at the top of the screens, they'll be pitting in for a proper race in lap. taking a fresh set of rubber, and they'll finish the session, Chad, with around 35 litres of fuel. So a much lighter car results in quicker lap times as well.
Wouldn't be Bathurst without an Armour All top 10 shootout, and that's what the drivers are competing for right here. With just under 6 minutes to go in the session, this is an in-lap for Thomas Randall as he dives into the pits. We'll hopefully see more of that setup for Tom tonight. It's something that he has launched as a business today. And as we round the end of the session with 5.5 minutes to go, everyone's going to come in and take their last set of tyres and head out for one last lap with about 3 minutes left on the clock. So very, very exciting. Also, we just got a small glimpse then of Simona De Silvestro. How cool to see Simona back at Bathurst, place where she started her real-life supercars career back in 2015. So much to talk about. I feel like we're sprouting topics everywhere at the moment. It's going to be a really good night. A quick run through the top 10 as it stands as we get set for this final run late in the session. It's Brody Kostecki on top.
So you look at the cut-off time. It's at 2 minute 3.1 for Cameron Waters. We've gone through our 4 wild cards already, and so far 2 of them will make it through to the Armour All top 10 shootout this afternoon. But for Cam Waters, 0.02 of a second up here on Gary Jacobson, who is racing at the Winton marketing manager's house at the moment. He's using a direct drive wheel, and he's had the community try and support him to make it into the top 10. But let's see how Scotty Bye goes. He's down the order, crosses the line, and no improvement for him. He's still in 19th.
203.67. So a good lap. I mean, we're talking about 203.6s. That's a mega lap any day of the week at Bathurst. Unfortunately, you're almost going to need a run of 2 to make the shootout here. SCT Logistics and Jack Smith. Cool to see Jack on the Gold Coast running for Brad Jones Racing. Good look at his sim setup there as well. He's running a next level rig, and also Thrustmaster Will with phonetic pedals. So cool to be able to see Jack Smith for the first time in the broadcast. One of the youngsters in the field, just 20 years of age. He and Jake Kostecki, the youngest.
He qualified 14th here last year. But it was...
Now, he had a very similar moment to that in his first ever trip to Bathurst at Paul Morris Motorsport. He got that car out of there quickly, probably a wise move given that there were a few drivers on approach, and it's a very, very fast and difficult part of the track to avoid anyone stuck on the road. How did he lose this one?
Comes through Skyline, not close enough to the wall, and he's tried to compensate for that. And he's picked up a tremendous amount of oversteer. You want to bleed off the brakes gradually, but he couldn't do that because he would have skipped into the runoff zone, and that would have deleted the lap time. But with 3 minutes left, he should be able to squeeze one more lap in as our championship leader, Scott Mclaughlin, screams through now the top of the mountain.
Oh, Scotty. Again, frustrated with himself, similar to what we saw last week at Barcelona. He sits 4th at 202.3, which is a full second quicker than he's been in the real-world scenario around this track. And he's going to shortcut this thing. We saw that reaction when he just clipped the wall, and that would have discounted the lap time as well, which is why he's back straight out of it. Thumped the steering wheel, just like he did last time out
at Barcelona.
At Barcelona.
So there you go. But the cutoff time now, Chad, is still, well, it's down to Lee Holdsworth, the 2 minute 3.0.
Jeez.
I've been very impressed by Lee Holdsworth's qualifying performances. I feel like with one circuit this week to practice as Frosty.
Oh, no.
That's a Dick Johnson moment.
He very nearly caught it and just wipes the right rear guard down the fence. It was almost an amazing save. Will he bring this thing back? He's just out of time. Doesn't matter now to try and start a new lap on fresher tyres, so it won't work out for the Irwin Tools car.
So the cutoff time, like I was saying, is Lee Holdsworth, as you can see on the left-hand side of the screen. And look how close the gaps are. You got the Penske car of Fabian Coulthard right there. Cameron Waters hasn't improved since his earlier time. Neither has Gary Jacobson or Will Power. And in the closing stages, these are the drivers we're looking out for. I think everybody on the left-hand screen up to Chaz Mostert should be safe. But from Thomas Randall onwards, you don't know if you'd be comfortable with a 2 minutes 2.7 at the moment.
So Cam Waters in Singworks gear. The race winner last time out at Silverstone. On the podium in the opening weeks as well at Monza. So a pretty good start to this championship, and sitting nicely in the championship, chasing down Scott McLaughlin in the BP Ultimate point score. So a great start to his campaign. Spends quite a bit of time in the sim. Very versatile driver that does quite a bit of speedway racing as well. Here's a man that you brought up earlier in Gary Jacobson. He's taken on a new Motum sim rig up in Shepparton. He's going to whip this thing down through the chase.
And Thomas Randall improves to 5th. And that should, I think that should be safe there for the Super 2 driver. So we've got 2 Super 2 runners up into the top 10 in this Armour All qualifying session. 30 seconds left here. Traffic management going to be critical as they approach Murray's.
Oops, and that was Cam Waters in the fence and out of action. And that was going to be his run. He just started a hot lap. He's stuck 12th and will not be making the shootout. Meanwhile, seeing some quick sectors here on screen. Dipasquale is looking quick. He sits 3rd at the moment, but first, what happened to Cameron Waters? Under the tree. Oh, the back end stood out. He chased it all the way around the grate. And that was a wild, wild moment for the Monster Energy car.
Had a bit of traffic to deal with too, did Waters, so that wouldn't have helped at all heading through Reed Park.
And here comes Anton. He has been the man in qualifying so far. Very quick at every single round of the championship, at every single track that we've gone to. Picked up back-to-back pole awards at Phillip Island and Monza. Silverstone, he picked one up there as well. And then 4th at Barcelona. So he's definitely the quickest in Armour All qualifying trim. Can he finish this lap? A 2:01.8 is his best. He needs to find about 2/10 per second to pick up the lap from Brody Kostecki, which is his real-world co-driver. These guys looking pretty good for a future Erebus seat when they get set for the Enduros. And how cool is that Anzac Day livery that we can see on the side of the 99?
Working together last week, those two, and let's see if they dominate the top of the timing screens. For Dipasquale, his sector times look absolutely stunning, and as he crosses the line, he remains 3rd, but improves by half a second. Only, I mean, that's nothing splitting your top 3 at the moment. Cannot wait.
And almost on the button, Will Power goes to 10th. Has anyone got anything left for Will Power? The Shell V-Power Verizon car has somehow snuck into the shootout. How cool is this? We've got 3 out of our 4 wildcards potentially looking at a start in the Armour All shootout. How about Scott Pye, the DeWalt car? Gets a bit of that curb at the chase, lifts him up. He sits 20th, but we're seeing some green sectors for him, so maybe an improvement here.
Streams on Twitch to Scott Pye if you want to check him out. Does do a lot of work with the engineers behind the scenes. Here he comes, and he improves, and not enough to climb him into the top 10.
Nice work, though. He sits 19th, all the way down through 29 cars. Brody Kostecki on top. Chris Pither rounding out the field with a 2:07.9. Very difficult to drive one of these supercars around Mount Panorama, even in the iRacing scenario. But what about this story? Brody Kostecki, a wild card for the night, driving out of Melbourne, originally from Perth, with a bit of Eggleston backing, and putting this car on top with a 2:01.67. Here is your BP Ultimate results. Very close between the top 3. And like you mentioned, he was actually engineering Anton Dipasquale last week. They'll be co-drivers for the Enduros later. There's a fairly sizable gap back to everyone else.
This is going to be a very intense top 10 shootout later on. To cap off Armour All qualifying, we say goodbye to these guys for the rest of qualifying today. Down to Simona De Silvestro, who rounds out the field. But Chad, I tell you what, this is as intense as the real thing here at Mount Panorama.
That was a really cool session thanks to Armour All, and it's only going to get better. Don't go anywhere. The Armour All top 10 shootouts coming up on the other side of this. You're watching the BP Ultimate Supercars All-Stars E-Series racing at the spiritual home of supercars, Mount Panorama. Armour All qualifying was exciting, and an amazing show is set to come up now as we get set for the Armour All Top 10 Shootout.
All those people that don't make it into the shootout that roll out the line like we all have at some time, well, it's a 1,000-kilometre race. Qualifying don't really matter. That's bullshit.
Every time someone says, oh, it's a long race tomorrow, I'm not on pole, I'm down the field, or I'm ninth, you know, it's a long race tomorrow, I did my best. Well, a lot of rubbish. It's about being on pole at Bathurst, and the shootout, that's what it's all about. If you're not thinking about being on pole and putting 100% into it, then you shouldn't be there.
It is the ultimate lap of your life. You go around that circuit, the spotlight is on you, you can't make and afford to make a mistake. The excitement as a driver knowing that you've made the 10 and you're going to start in the 10 for the biggest race of your life.
There's a brutal amount of honesty that's attached to driving a car at the absolute maximum at a racetrack like that.
I think it's one of the most amazing sessions in the whole calendar throughout the whole year to be a part of. And if you're not in it, you're a loser.
It is the one moment in your entire career where it is man and machine and the circuit and everything else is out.
It's the challenge of mastering the machine. It's the challenge of getting on top of your own demons and trying to put together perfection, which is almost impossible to achieve. It's a very special racetrack. It's a very special moment. And if you get it right, the rewards are huge.
And Mclaughlin comes to the line. Yes! A 2-minute 3.8. They've gone berserk at Shell V-Power Racing. That is off the scale.
It's delivered some of the most spectacular moments in motorsport history. First introduced as Hardy's Heroes back in 1978. Well, tonight we get something completely new for supercars as the Armor All Top 10 shootout goes virtual. And here are the 10 starters. Wow, what a run from our wildcards already. Jonathan, we've got 3 to watch out for here, including Brody Kostecki and Thomas Randall. But Will Power late in that session snuck in.
Brilliant time, and you know, he's no stranger to pressure, of course, too. Former Indy 500 winner. He's actually no stranger to this racetrack as well. As we discussed before, he did race back in 2002 at Mount Panorama. And he's got a lot of pressure on him, despite being the virtual world, Chad. I'll tell you what, these drivers are very competitive. I've been hearing Will Power on the sim get quite aggressive at times in some of those IndyCar races.
Yeah, the IndyCar races have been huge. Of course, our very own Scott Mclaughlin has been competing in those. Had a pretty good run recently at Motegi. How about a different team that we haven't really focused on tonight? The Walkinshaw Andretti United guys. Both of their drivers have locked themselves into the shootout.
They've been very impressive, very quick on the sim. So to me, it's no surprise at all to see both Chaz Mostert and Bryce Fullwood up there in this top 10 session. Hopefully, they can do it in the real world when we kick off the real thing later on in 2020.
Now, other big names to watch out for, Shane Van Gisbergen, an absolute shootout specialist, and also Scott Mclaughlin. So 2 of the heavy hitters from the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship are going to be in this Armor All Top 10 shootout. And one driver who has been really flying under the radar is this guy in the Ned Racing Mustang, Andre Heimgartner. Now, I wasn't due to go out first in this session. I'm going to juggle things up slightly as we try and get Will Power back online over in Charlotte, which means it's going to be Andre taking centre stage first in the Ned Racing Mustang. Little shout out to the guys in Ned and Melbourne here as well. Typically making whiskey, but due to the tough times at the moment, they've switched tack slightly, and they're going to be helping make some hand sanitizer as well. So well done to everyone who's a part of that project in helping out the scenario that we're currently facing, not just here in Australia, but around the world as well. So very similar to an Armor All Top 10 shootout in the real world. 10 drivers, 1 lap. This will set the grid for tonight's 3 races, which is slightly different to what we have. It's going to be this guy up first, Andre Heimgartner, Kelly Racing, making that switch across from the Nissans to the Mustangs in the off-season, and has finished inside the top 10 in every single race so far this year, so putting together a very nice campaign.
The only driver to do that in all 7 races so far for our BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. If you're wondering how the rubber works here, the Dunlop rubber will last a good lap, so the out lap and your hot lap. So if he takes care of them on this outlap, he should be good to go to scream around Mount Panorama. And you speak to a lot of these guys, and yes, some people think this is virtual and there's not as much pressure as a real thing, but you don't get to this level of racing without a certain mindset of competitiveness too. So I'm telling you what, for Andre Heimgartner, for all these drivers ready to begin their lap, the pressure's on, just like the real thing. The only difference is no invoice if you bin the car at the top of the mountain.
Yeah, it's certainly a cheaper way to go racing in that respect. But already these young drivers, most of which linked to some pretty hefty real-world environments, are upping their sim games as well. So we're seeing some incredible sim rigs come to the fore as Andre starts his lap in the Armor All Top 10 shootout. First car, Andre Heimgartner, the Melbourne-based Kiwi, gets us going. 24 years of age, hasn't made a top 10 shootout in Bathurst in the real-world environment, but driving beautifully already in this season. He's driving a next-level sim. Sim Magic wheelbase and HPP pedals. So it's a bit of a strange combination, those three together.
And into two, hugs the inside quite nicely. Look at the amount of rubber planted on the tarmac, as iRacing does. Everything simulated from the track evolution too. And now through to the cutting, right up close to the wall. I think he left a bit of room there on the inside, which will cost him a tenth or two. And there's that bump, laser scanned and simulated as per usual, and through to Reed Park. It's a quick time so far. We've got 6 split times, Chad, which is a little different to the real world.
Yeah, double what we'd normally see as Andre runs all the way to the fence, 4th gear through McPhillamy, grabs the curbs, and then back over Skyline. Need to balance the car so delicately across the inside curb at Skyline, down through the dipper, 2nd gear. Get that power on, got the inside curb coming out of the dipper.
Oh, he's really run it up close to the wall there on entry. That's beautiful. Nice and easy on the exit, on the power early. Looks like a decent time so far. This is what you want to do if you're first out. You're under an immense amount of pressure. You get a feel for the track conditions, and he should be able to plaster a good time in here, although he's got 2 heavy braking zones coming up.
Gets that car wrestled back over to the right-hand side. He'll find 2nd gear and maybe the inside curb. Not quite. Short shift to 3rd. 1 corner to go for Andre Heimgartner. Ned Racing, driving for the Kelly Racing team down here in Melbourne. Back to 2 cars for them this year. Runs it up on the curb. And the lap time for Andre Heimgartner is a 2:02.7. Not a bad lap time. Very close to what he laid down in that recent Armor All qualifying session. And that was a pretty handy lap by Andre. Rocking the beard at the moment. Having a chat to his engineer. And that is the first lap. And now we have a number to beat. 2:02.78. Now we can switch our attention to Will Power. Live from Charlotte, South Carolina. Here comes Will Power. IndyCar champion, Indy 500 winner, an incredible resume. Has had some supercars starts in his career as well, dating all the way back to 2002, plus did the internationals on the Gold Coast a few years ago. Here he goes. 2:02.78, the time to beat.
See how deep he goes into turn 1. A little bit earlier than Andre Heimgartner, but it's all about the exit, as this is technically where you begin the lap, in a sense. You take that first braking zone, and now you're ready to go to attack the rest of the mountain.
Car spikes slightly for a moment. 5th gear on approach up here, back down to 3rd gear. If you can get the car tucked in close to the inside curb through Griffin's Bend, it'll help suck it into the middle of the corner. There's a little bit of camber to work with there, and it's a good first sector.
He's matched Andre Heimgartner through the first couple of sectors, but it's about the rest of the lap, obviously.
Well, he's gone purple and purple, so he's up. It's been a great start so far. Also using an Oculus Rift virtual reality set at home at the moment, so a different way to go about it. Some drivers go for the single screen, some drivers triple screens, and 2 of our drivers in the shootout will be running virtual reality, he and Bryce Forward. That's a really nice run through Skyline. Early turn in for the dipper.
Nice job. Great change of direction as well for the Aussie. Comes through Forest Elbow. Uses the camera of the track there nicely. That's as close as you can call it to the wall on the exit too for our 2014 IndyCar Series champion. Coming towards the chase right now. 300 kilometers an hour as we expect. And have a look at the Dunlop curb cam. That is insane. Now he doesn't use the curb there, but on iRacing, that can actually be quicker. So don't get deceived by that. It's all about Murray's. You're not going to gain too much time through here, but you can always ruin your lap.
It's a tough downhill approach as well. Bit of mid-corner understeer and gets it stopped. Can he top the time of Andre Heimgartner? Oh, he does by 500ths of a second. 2:02.73, 500ths of a second between Will Power and Andre Heimgartner. Great start to the session.
And like I said, Chad, he went purple in those first 2 sectors, but he had matched him. And now he's literally almost lost that in the final sector. Brilliant recovery towards the end of the lap.
One of a few drivers to have been in the shootout last year in real life. Here comes Nick Percat weaving some heat into his tyres down Conrod Straight. Sitting this thing up nice and high on the limiter. Nick, 31 years of age, has appeared twice in the shootout at Mount Panorama. And on both occasions, he netted himself the 7th position. What's he got in store for us tonight? Dunlop Super Team Racing, Brad Jones Racing operation out of Albury, up on the border between Victoria and New South Wales. And once again, the engineer is asleep on the job.
Good old Nelson. Hopefully he doesn't distract him. Oh, he's had a moment there. You can see through turn 1, but he's picked it up on the exit. It's quick so far, and we'll get our first split time here across the mountain straight.
Clearly shifting with the paddles tonight, Nick Percat, as the left hand isn't doing too much up mountain straight. We get a little bit of a view of him downshifting with the left hand.
He's a little slower, though, compared to Power and Heimgartner. Nails turn 2.
Now, more than a little, actually. He's nearly 9/10 down in the first sector. 22.0 to a 25.1. So he lost a huge amount of time with the rears locking down there at turn 1. It's going to be a long way back for Nick Percat from here.
Turns in nice and early there, up close to the wall. I like this middle part of the lap for Percat. As I said, the tyres last a lap here on iRacing, so he'll get the best of the rubber through the top of the mountain here. Picks up a lot of understeer, though, through Mclaughlin. And have a look at this through Skyline. Slight moment trying to trail the brakes. Is he going to get this car stopped in time? He just has. How in the world has he done that?
How perfectly timed was the Dunlop curb cam. See the Dunlop Super Dealer car literally flying mid-air down through the dipper. That was cool. Picks up the power early. The exits at turn 1 and also Forest Elbow, just so important to carry this speed down Conrod.
He was quickest down through the S's and the dipper, which is what we were watching on the ragged edge there. But now through the end of the lap, I'm not sure if this is enough to climb himself up into provisional pole in this Armour All shootout.
I wouldn't say the tension back at Nick's house is palpable right now. But he's not quite as relaxed as his little buddy in the couch in the background. Here comes Nick Percat, the South Aussie now based in Melbourne. Nice approach. Down to Murray's, has a little mid-corner wiggle. What's the time for Percat? It's a 2:02.8. Great recovery from his first sector, but not quite as quick as Andre Heimgartner. Just 200ths away. We'll check in with Nick Percat right now and just see exactly what that lap was like. Nick, turn 1 looked difficult.
Yeah, I struggled with turn 1 in a bit of testing, but yeah, I made a bigger mistake actually under the tree before he dropped down to the grate. Turned in too early, hit the curb, and actually lost.
We're hearing Nick say about as much as Nelson is in the background there. Lost you, buddy, but that's all right. Good luck for the 3 races tonight. You're back. Good lap anyway, buddy. Nelson's flat out behind you.
Yeah, good engineer.
Right.
Good engineer.
He's a good engineer and a good boy. All right, here comes Bryce Forward, the Mobil 1 Middies car. And this is a huge effort from Bryce Forward to park this car up in the shootout tonight. Starting an Armour All top 10 shootout lap. Here comes the boy from Darwin to get this party started, racing the Motum simulator with virtual reality, or a little bit of mid-corner oversteer as he grabs the curb at turn 1.
Well, we'll check the split time. 22.0 is to beat so far. We get that first intermediate time right here. A little different to the real world, as we said. For Forward, 22.0, so it's hurt him. It's 22.09, I should complete that. So it hurt him there through turn 1. And now running very deep here through the second corner. unless he's gotten on the throttle early, that's going to hurt him too. I think he might be a couple tenths down here to begin the session.
Having a crack though at the moment, Bryce Fullwood. He's right out the front of the Walkinshaw Andretti United Stars car as he climbs up and gets the fence. Now, will that discount the lap?
So, exactly right, Chad. If you hit the wall on any of these runs, it disqualifies the lap. So, even if he completes this, he'll register a nil time. So, he'll complete the lap just for the show for the moment.
Well, that is one of the big differences to the real world, and you can see the damage down the left-hand doors. So, a shame for Bryce Fullwood. He was electric at the Super 2 race here last year, 250 Ks. He simply drove away from the field, lost the race on a technicality on the last lap, which was hard to watch. And tonight, it looks like he'll be starting out of 10th after grabbing the fence going up through Reed Park.
Well, as far as we know, it should delete the time. He's still screaming away here as if he's going for pole, but if you scrape the wall, you get what's called a 0 incident points. And you might be wondering, what's the point of a 0 incident points? And it's just a warning to say, hey, you've touched the wall, your lap time will be deleted, but it won't penalize you apart from that. So for Fullwood, I think we should be able to see his time unofficially, and we'll see what he could have produced for us as the Walkinshaw boy comes across the line. What would it have been? It won't show up.
Yeah, it won't give us a number because it has been discounted. So no time recorded for the Middy's electrical car. He's given us the thumbs up anyway. Bryce, what happened out there on that lap?
Yeah, look, obviously not ideal. Hit the wall at the tree there, which is a bit unfortunate. I sort of thought I might have been just on the edge of getting into the top 10, and once I was there, I was pretty stoked. But anyway, at least we're not starting at the back, and still got some kind of lap in to get into the 10, but certainly not ideal.
No worries, mate. Should be easy to fix as well. Thank you, buddy. We'll check in now with your teammate because here comes Chaz Mostert. He's all smiles in the Mobile One Appliances Online Racing ZB Commodore. Through turn 1 and up Mountain Straight. Technically last year's Umbrel Top 10 Shootout winner. If you go back and check out the Natsoff timing screen, certainly didn't feel like it there on the day, but has now got that Bathurst stat in his pocket. And more each week this setup at home for Chaz is looking even more professional.
Very fast, Mostert, as he climbs to the cutting. And if you're wondering, we have had 4 drivers, but Fullwood's time won't show up on the left-hand side of screen. So obviously that was a disqualified time. So, but we still had 4 drivers, as we know. He climbs through here, past the tree into Reed Park. It looks very smooth for Chaz Mostert through to great.
Oh, having the concentration on the face. Now he's running a Fanatec Club Sport wheel. If you're really into your sim racing gear, you'll know that that's not a direct drive system. So not quite the huge setup in terms of the wheelbase, but it is a really good rig. It's a Motum rig, and that was nice down through the dipper.
Ate a hot dog last week, didn't he? I don't know, was that between races or?
Bit of race fuel. So he gets it perfectly down through the exit of the elbow. Now, how's he looking on the timing screen so far? Very comparable through Sector 2, slightly off in Sector 3, 100th off in Sector 4, and sadly quite a bit off in Sector 5. So at the moment, it's going to be tight between the top, but hasn't given us a sign that he's going to go to the top just yet.
He's going to have to really push here, but like I said, you always tend to lose time through Murray's rather than gain any time. It's the lowest point on the circuit. Downhill braking zone as he shifts down to second gear. Don't touch the curb on the inside. What's this going to be for Chaz Mostert?
Here comes your 2014 Super Cheap Auto Bathurst winner, and he absolutely smashes that last sector. 202.71, new quickest time to Chaz Mostert, goes to the top by just 18 thousandths of a second. And how tight is that between the top 4?
That's insane.
Well, you can see how pumped up he is. He doesn't look exactly thrilled with the lap, but...
Is he on satellite delay?
I don't know. I don't know what he's hearing, but certainly at our end, it looks quick. 202.71, he is the quickest. I guess he realizes that there must have been more in it.
Possibly. We've seen him lap quicker in qualifying for sure in the previous first qualifying session we had. So unfortunately for Mostert, he's not celebrating, but he's on pole. Fortunately, ironically, he is. Now it's time for Thomas Randall.
Yeah, so provisional pole for Chaz Mostert, but he must feel vulnerable here. Chaz, you look like you're at a funeral at the moment, mate. You don't look too happy about that.
I mean, it was a pretty tense lap. It's so hard to drive one of these cars just around here in the real world, other than the sim world. So looks pretty awesome from the outside looking in to see 4 guys all on a 7. I'm just glad I'm on the right side of the 7 at this stage.
Nice work, mate. We'll see you when we go racing later tonight. Good job.
Thanks, mate.
Smash a few more hot dogs as we get set for the Sky Sands Commodore. And this is going to be an Armour All shootout lap from one of our wildcards. Here comes Thomas Randall. Driving from his own business, which is pretty cool. Dandenong South, and that is the live look from his webcam. And yes, that is a movement simulator. It is shaking and moving around on 6 different axes. It's an incredible setup, and it's now a business that he and Lee Holdsworth can do live driver coaching. Maybe even coach up some more future stars of the sport. Here goes Randall.
We got to check it out during the week, and I could not be taken off there. It was incredible. Oh, and you don't want to touch the curb there at turn 2. And is that going to hurt him? You can lose so much time doing it, up to 2 or 3 tenths, right up close to the wall at the cutting. Brilliant through here, though, to recover. So let's look at his split times. So far, lost a couple of tenths, though, through the early parts of this lap.
Yeah, maybe 3 or 4 tenths down at that second sector. Remember, 6 sectors, unlike the real-world scenario where we have just the 3. Big commitment at the grade.
Nice.
And remember, if you touch that wall, your lap is discounted. We saw that for Bryce Forward. Across the top. When we spoke to him on Monday, as he rides down Skyline, he said his best lap was a 2:03 around here, and a high 2:03. So he has found some time in 2 days.
And he crashed here twice last year in Super 2, so this isn't a particularly good spot of the track for him. Doesn't run too deep, though. He was adamant on that when we spoke to him earlier in the week. He knows how to handle this final sector, despite having some unfortunate moments. The split time so far, though, not looking good for pole.
He's been balancing his racing duties with the new business, as well as, of course, his university studies. So very, very busy young man. Gets this thing hopefully stop down into the chase. Second gear. Just wipes that curb on the left-hand side. Good 5th sector from Tom Randall. So finding some time back. 2:02.71 is the time to beat for Chaz Mostert. And here comes Melbourne's Tom Randall. And he goes to 5th. So 2:02.8, man, it's tight.
He'll be disappointed in that for sure. He set some 2-minute 2.1s and 2s in practice.
Thomas, we love the new setup, mate. Congratulations on the new business. Good luck.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Yeah, shame we didn't get a bit quicker than that, but I probably just took a bit conservative. But no, the sim's doing great, and yeah, looking forward to the 3 races coming up tonight. So enjoy, guys.
Well done. And who's this? This is the man to beat in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship, and he's also your BP Ultimate points leader in the All-Star E-Series. Next at bat, driving for Shelby Power Racing, Scott Mclaughlin, a man who has had some of the most memorable one-lap moments around Mount Panorama.
Now, he set a 2-minute 1.8 in our earlier practice session. Can he replicate the same here in qualifying as we ride on board with our 2-time Supercars champion? So far, the first sector not looking good. Is the track not gripping up as much as they expected?
Nearly 3 years ago, we all stood at Mount Panorama, almost egging this guy on to give us a 2:03 in the real-world Armour All shootout. Today, we're egging on potentially a 2:01. That's the lap times that we saw from the early Armour All qualifying session. Can Scott Mclaughlin go under that time set for Chaz Mostert? Committed at Reed Park.
Oh, he's so close to the wall, isn't he? As we watch from the chopper. Now through to Mclaughlin. He looks spot on, doesn't he? And he's on the grass just as he was a few years ago. It's like he's trying to give us the same lap. Oh, he's got the rear starting to step away from him, though, as he heads through to the dipper.
He was chasing that thing down the hill through Skyline and the dipper. Forest Elbow, second gear. It's a small jut in the wall on the Falcon signage when you turn in, and now feed on the power.
Now, this is tough right now. He hasn't driven for at least 20 minutes, 25 minutes. So, as you're not warmed up as much as you expect. So, for our championship leader so far, the lap time's looking good through the final sector, but will this be enough to climb him up into pole position? Nails the chase. There's only one more braking zone to go, and let's see if our two-time Supercars champ will climb to pole position.
Using a SimWorks simulator and a little bit of oversteer under brakes down at the final corner. He had to chase it. It's a tough lap for Scott Mclaughlin, only good enough for fifth. So fifth quickest with a 2:02.8. It's a full second quicker than the heroic 2:03.8, but still not quite enough. And they are jammed in there at the moment. 6 drivers separated by just a tenth.
He's not happy with that, is he? And I wouldn't be either. He's struggled with that, and he knows he's at least a second off his personal best time that he set for the week. So he's got a lot of work to do, and our 3 races coming up later this evening.
Well, this man has been the guy to beat in Armour All qualifying so far. He's picked up 4 out of the 5 pole awards. He has been untouchable in one-lap speed. Penrite Racing are ready to tackle the mountain once again with Anton Dipasquale, who's made 2 shootouts here at the mountain in the real-world scenario as he climbs up Mountain Straight.
Now, don't get confused. 7 drivers have been out there. Bryce Fullwood will start from at least 7th at the moment. He'll climb, or he'll drop down the order as more of these drivers start filling in for the rest of the session. Here's our quickest driver, in my opinion, throughout the series. But today, a wildcard entry of Brody Kostecki later on, really proving his worth. They've been working together over the past couple of weeks. For Anton Dipasquale, quickest through the first couple of sectors, and nailing it into Reed Park.
If there was another millimetre or 2 on the left-hand side, he surely would have grabbed that wall and the time would have been gone. This is a classic case of leaving nothing on the table as we chase him across Skyline. How much do we love watching one driver tackle the mountain, real world or not? It's got every element of theatre about it. And loving also the Anzac Day livery, not getting to run it as they would have over in Auckland, which was the next event due for the Supercars at this time of year. And also Cam Waters and the Tickford team running a very special Navy livery as well, so watch out for that later tonight. Here comes Anton. It's been quick. There's been some purple sectors in there, so he's in the ballpark.
I think this is good enough for pole. If he can just keep this together, widening the track. I like that through the chase as he opens up the exit. I think this is looking good for a low 2-minute 2 at the moment.
Dipasquale versus Mostert. Measured by the clock. 2:02.71 the time to beat for Anton. Can he do it? Yes, yes he can, and he crushes it by 6/10. 2:02.1, nearly sneaks in, and he's, well, there you go, half a second quicker than Chaz Mostert. Cracking lap from Anton Dipasquale. That was a mega drive. Wow, how about that from Anton? 2:02.1, and that's a go fetch lap, that one. That will take some beating.
It's possible, though, because we know we've got a couple of drivers still left in this session, and they were quicker than him. And it's up to Gizzy and, of course, Brody Kostecki.
Well, Anton, you're on provisional pole. That was an incredible lap. The commitment at Reed Park in particular was exciting.
Yeah, it's all right. A little bit off what we did in quali. Wasn't the best lap, so I reckon maybe the other boys might have me, but we're in a good spot. It's all good.
Well, a 2:02.1 is going to take some beating. Thanks to the chat. Best of luck for tonight.
Cheers. Thanks, guys.
But if there's anyone who can catch Anton Dipasquale, It is a specialist of the Armour All Top 10 shootout. Shane van Gisbergen, 2 drivers to go, and this man is one of them, rocking the white wheels at Red Bull. Live from New Zealand, here comes SVG.
Nice and late on the brakes there, and picks it up on the exit. This looks as good as Anton Dipasquale, and he's the only other driver to take pole position this season apart from the Penrite Racing driver of Dipasquale.
That's right, at Barcelona. His pole lap back in 2014 when he was at Techno right here at Mount Panorama was something to remember. He had a full Helio Castroneves moment, climbed the fence, and the early sector times are close. 300ths off Anton Dipasquale to sector 1, so he's right there, right where he needs to be. Here comes the run across the top. This is where he needs to commit. A reminder, he is the second last driver in the shootout. We did have Bryce Ford clip the wall, which meant disqualification. So Bryce's name not showing on the totem for now. But all eyes on the Holden of Shane van Gisbergen. Here we go. Critical part of the lap down through Skyline.
Nailed it. Absolutely spot on. He's been on iRacing for over a decade. He was one of the drivers who initially wanted to have extra beta access to this circuit when they were creating it 8 years ago. That's how much he wanted to learn Mount Panorama on the sim. And now towards the end of the lap, he is looking good on our split times, and this could promote him to provisional pole.
2 purple sectors across the top, so the commitment paid off. He was perfect through Skyline and the Dipper. On track to go quicker than Anton Dipasquale. The 202.19 sits vulnerably at the top at the moment. Anton said it himself. He thought the next 2 drivers would get him. That's quick through the chase.
Boy, is that quick. 1 more corner to go. Don't lose it.
Gets the thing stopped. Pat Murray's turned in and nicely towards the checkered flag. Shane van Gisbergen gets the job done with a 1. 201.9. That is a mega lap from SVG.
I can't believe you just said that.
That was awesome.
201.9.
What a lap from Shane van Gisbergen. Real or not, you got to admire the commitment, the pressure, the skill, everything that he just executed in 2 minutes and 1 second. Some vintage Shane van Gisbergen tonight. And shades of 2014 when he did it in the real world as well. Shane, that was a killer lap. Well done.
Hey, thanks. That was all right. I thought I'd go conservative, seeing as everyone was doing 201.7s, but it felt pretty good. So I pushed on and, yeah, got a bit of pressure on young Brody, but, man, he's fast. So this will be good to watch.
You've been coaching him over the years. Has he got what it takes to get this lap done?
Well, I regret him. I regret it now because he's going pretty good. But, yeah, it's awesome. Good to see him going well.
Well done. He's down in the last corner and ready to start his lap right now. Thanks for the chat, Shane, and good luck tonight. As here comes Brody Kostecki. Last to the plate tonight. And the stage is so perfectly set for this rookie. At 201.9 the time to beat. He raced here last year with his cousin in a wild card scenario. And now he takes the wheel with Eggleston Motorsport, his Super 2 team in the real world. Yuasa Battery Racing ready to go. As he goes under the Petters Bridge, which has Petters signage on this car as well. Here goes Brody in the first sector. Jonathan, it's good.
It's looking good. And as Gizzy just told us, he's very quick. We could even see a mid 2-minute 1 over here. The pressure's on for Brody Kostecki, who, Chad, I'm not joking, as he rides over the bump here, he's actually fell asleep at his simulator at times. That's how much he's in the sim.
Oh, it's really nice and clean through Reed Park.
Oh, man.
This is the guy who sets up these cars week in, week out for the entire field to drive.
He's got to be careful of not touching the wall, though. That will delete his lap time, just like it did for Bryce Forward. Down through Skyline, clouting the curve, but getting the car stopped in time. He's super smooth. He's on it. Great exit as he screams down to Forest Elbow.
He's swapping fast sector times with Shane van Gisbergen across the top. One purple, then the next green, the next purple. So it's going to be extremely close between the young West Aussie and the experienced Kiwi. ripping down Conrad. 288 clicks just as you tip it into the chase. And that was almost identical to the top speed of Shane Van Gisbergen through there. So we are set with exactly the scenario we want. The last driver in the Armour All Top 10 shootout for Eggleston Motorsport is Brody Kostecki, with a big lick of flame out of the exhaust. Here comes the Super 2 wildcard star. 2:01.9 the time to beat. And he goes to second. He misses it by 100th. Oh my goodness me, it's closer than that. It's 2.20 decimal points to the 9, so it's 9 thousandths of a second. And he looks ropeable. Oh, the look at his face says it all. That is just almost insulting. 9 thousandths of a second has cost him the pole tonight.
I'm speechless.
How close is that? 2:01.90 versus a 2:09.91, but it's actually closer than that in the real world because it's 9 thousandths of a second. The Armour All Top 10 shootout delivers on iRacing. How good is that? That's close.
Look at the times there. Goodness me. I can't even look at first and second. That's how much it's traumatic for me. But for Anton Dipasquale, he'll start on the second row along with Chaz Mostert. And you can see all the times there. Bryce Fullwood will start from 10th, even though he's not listed. That's because his lap was discounted after hitting the wall. But everybody there early in the session didn't set a good benchmark. And a mistake for Scott Mclaughlin will put him down onto the 4th row for our first race this evening.
Well, let's check in with Brody Kostecki. And I don't know, Brody, if I should say well done or I'm sorry, but you look heartbroken with that lap.
No, it wasn't too bad. I just made a mistake across the top and got a bit of understeer and I just couldn't get it out. So Shane did a good job. He's been fast all week. So I knew he was going to put the pressure on and he sure did. So it should be fun down the race.
You've got the guy who's been driver coaching you starting alongside you and then the guy that you were engineering last week starting behind you.
Yeah, it's a bit of it's going to be a bit of a bust up, I reckon. So it should be fun.
Well done. Congratulations on a really good run tonight. 3 races heading your way, mate. Best of luck.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
So well done. He's a co-driver at Erebus, and he has everything looking his way in both the real and iRacing scenarios. But it's this guy tonight, Shane Van Gisbergen. What a lap to just edge out Brody Kostecki, a guy with so much sim experience. And from Auckland to Bathurst, Shane Van Gisbergen, tonight's Armour All pole winner in the Armour All Top 10 shootout. And that was a scintillating session that had everything from IndyCar drivers to margins of victory of just 9 thousandths of a second. And the pressure, it felt just like a real shootout.
Yeah, you talk to the real drivers, they say exactly the same thing. They're competitive. We were here getting sucked into it all. I forgot this was the virtual thing.
Yeah, it has that same theatre about it. Who impressed you the most out of there? Who surprised you the most? We didn't quite see the lap that maybe Scott Mclaughlin thought he had in him.
I think Will Power definitely surprised me. To jump in from open wheelers into this thing is incredibly hard. This is one of the most difficult cars to drive on the iRacing service. And I wouldn't say Shane Van Gisbergen surprised me, but he nailed it, spot on. He's been on the service for over a decade. He's been a champion in the real world, and he's proved it here today.
And if qualifying was anything to go by, the races should be huge tonight. We're going to have 3 of those. There's going to be pit stops, reverse grid, strategy to think about as well.
First time this season, we're going to have at least 1 CPS in all 3 of our races. We've got 2 for the final event. It's going to be ever interesting. Could spice things up for the real world, Chad. This could be a race format they look into at Mount Panorama later this year, possibly.
We used to have sprint races there back in the day. I love that shot as we check out everyone's live setups. Remember, we are about to go live tonight with Jess and the boys up in Sydney. We're going to be broadcasting across Fox Sports as well as plenty of different social media channels. Lots of ways to watch out for the action tonight. 3 races coming your way from Mount Panorama. What can we expect to see? The reverse grid race should be really exciting when we put the fast guys at the back.
Certainly, strategy is going to be important in that one. Early pit stops coming up. Crompo is going to give us a good rundown through the Hino Hub. The final race, that's the one I'm looking forward to the most. 14 good laps around the mountain.
Well, thanks for joining us for Armour All qualifying for the BP Ultimate Supercars All-Stars E-Series, but the best is yet to come. Don't go anywhere, we're about to go racing.